Is it okay if I ask you questions of like what's going on the screen?
No. Welcome to MMA on the Rocks. My name is Bill Welker. You are listening to episode 273 of the podcast, or you're joining me live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, as long as we're not banned from Facebook this week. Today is
I just got the
Sunday.
notification that you went live on my Apple Watch. Look.
Great. Thank you. What a co-host you are. Today is Sunday, February 6th, and as you can tell, that's not the voice of Jeff the Animal Wilson. In fact, it is the voice of my lovely wife, Miss Claudia.
Wow.
How are you doing?
Not legally, but spiritually.
That's spiritually is what matters. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, actually.
We are in one of the most famous cities in the world, New York City, specifically the borough of Manhattan, right across the street from the Port Authority. Spending some time here for work, for our business that we run as a team.
Yeah.
70-30?
90-10.
90-10? All right.
Yes. But you are a great support, and I appreciate you being there with me, and you have great ideas, and I appreciate all the hard labor and lifting that you do.
I do a lot of lifting.
Yes.
That's it. I'm just the muscle. We are here for the New York Now Winter Convention, which we just attended at the Javits Center, just to get some ideas for participating this coming summer for our business, having a booth in there. So we went in there, walking around, and we are also, big news, kid-free this weekend. We flew into New York on Friday night, checked into the hotel here near Times Square.
Who's Mark Fellas? Just a little message.
Don't worry about that. I'll deal with the comments. Mark is from Australia, and he's welcoming you to the show.
But that's cool. But how come it doesn't say there's like anyone watching?
Don't worry about that either. That's never accurate.
Oh.
So thank you, Mark, for welcoming our guest here.
I've heard of Mark. I am aware. I know of Mark.
Yeah,
I do.
You have to know Mark. If
yes,
you've ever seen
you've
the
mentioned
show,
him to me. I do recall. I know he's bought one of your shirts.
I mean, you listen to the show, right?
Yes. I know he's a fan from Australia, and I know that you're really happy to have him, like, as a part of, your
Of course. I'm
life.
happy to have everyone who takes time out of their schedule to listen to MMA on the Rocks. Now, Mark's a serial pest. Where was I? So we flew into New York City on Friday night. Saturday, we trekked across the frozen tundra that is Manhattan right now. It was, 26 degrees yesterday?
Yeah, 20 something.
With a car seat strapped
with a wind chill
to ourselves and a child strapped to the other that we were swapping back and forth.
We had to carry her because she doesn't want to walk.
And we made it to Grand Central Terminal, where we took the train up to Westchester, New York, and unloaded 40 pounds of baggage.
Yeah.
That is our toddler.
Yeah, we burned a lot of calories that day.
We did. It was 12,000 steps, I think, we put in. And most of it with a 40-pound weighted vest. So kiddo is with grandma and grandpa for the weekend for the first time away from both of us.
And we haven't been without her since she's been born, right? Since before.
Not together. We've been away from her
separately, but we've never been without her, just you and me.
Yeah. And the saddest part about it is that she doesn't miss us in the slightest.
She doesn't even care.
Yeah, we FaceTimed with her last night, and she wanted nothing to do with us.
She doesn't even want to talk to us.
We called this morning. She did not give a fuck.
Like, I'm happy, but like I'm sad at the same time. Like, I'm glad that she's getting along so well with your parents, but it's a bummer that she doesn't miss us.
Ariana,
if
you ever go back and watch these shows one day, Ariana, just know that it's nice to have a little bit of freedom from you, but it would be nice if you missed us a little bit, kid.
She does.
Anyway, on to the important things that people want to hear about. So we are sipping You got to tell me what you think about this, too, because I didn't even tell you what you were drinking. Elijah Craig, straight rye whiskey, 94 proof. As I said, it is bitter cold here in New York City, so I figured a little rye whiskey, a little spice, something higher proof, but not so high proof that the wife can't sip on it.
I like it.
You're drinking this straight, and
yes,
you actually need a refill.
It is very strong, so I'm definitely taking my time with it. But it's strong, but I like it, and it doesn't burn. It's not so strong that it doesn't hurt going down.
Doesn't hurt going down, folks. You know what hurts me is the state of New York City right now. And you and I have been talking about this over the past couple of days. It's just, this city used to have a life and an energy to it. And I don't
know that you were from here, right? And then we spent time here. I mean, I lived here, I worked here. I lived here 14 years, lived in Harlem, Brooklyn, Upper East Side, and then Jersey. Weehawken.
So, yeah.
And it was fun. We had a great time. I loved it. Oh, my God.
We have a lot of great memories in New York. I was born and raised 30 minutes north of New York City.
I'd be out 2 a.m, having my time of my life, feeling safe.
Yeah, well, those days are long gone.
But it's just it's not this. It's just something's different. It's weird.
Something sucks the life out of this city.
It's not the same.
You know, I don't know if it was the pandemic or...
I mean, we are here. Look, we have to be fair. We are here during a time where it's freezing cold. It's 20 degrees out. So that's amplified, right?
But New York City, like when you think of New York City, you think of the wintertime, Rockefeller Center, the Christmas tree, the Rockettes. Like there's so much going on in New York in the winter. We're past it.
I'm just saying, trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. But it's still different.
No, something like this city has taken a beating, and it shows.
Yeah,
and it makes me sad.
It is sad. It's definitely different.
Let's talk about some redeeming qualities. Dollar slice pizza, still off the charts.
Yeah, that was fun. He's always talking about it. I never really think about it, but it's true. Like when you have a slice of pizza from New York, it is like the best pizza you've ever had in your life compared to what the stuff you're getting in your hometown of us, like Safety Harbor, Florida. We're not getting good pizza.
In Florida, there's
such a difference. It's so poignant, like, you're like, oh, that's why New York pizza is so much better.
I'm happy to hear a non-native New Yorker say this because living in Florida now, when I tell people like you can't,
it was dollar
get good pizza.
It was like the ship pizza. Who can't like dollar pizza?
This doesn't work. Talk about
Sorry. I was really getting like
when I tell people in Florida like there's nothing like New York pizza, you get like, yeah, I guess if you never experienced it and all you know is pizza from one of the other 49 states, you think it's fine. But when you grew up with New York pizza, and I don't know what it is. Some people say it's the water, and then I heard that was debunked because people get the water shipped to other states, and their pizza is still trash. I think it's a combination of the water and the weather conditions because
altitude.
In Florida especially, like the humidity causes the yeast to rise differently or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not a scientist. All I know is that there's nothing like New York pizza. So we got dollar slices on Friday night, and it was better pizza than you could find anywhere in the state of Florida. And it doesn't look that great. You guys could probably still see it. It's
definitely the best slice. I've never had anything better in Florida.
Yeah, like there's just.
And then this was a dollar pizza.
Florida pizza is just drywall with cheese on it and like ketchup. That's what it tastes like anyway. And I'm sure they put a lot of effort into it and everything, but there's just something about it. It's the bagels too. So it's something with the bread and the yeast and something about this area. It's definitely the water. A lot of people would think that New York City has dirty water, but the water from New York City actually comes from up in the Adirondacks. And it's some of the best tasting water in the world. Like tap water in New York has like a sweetness to it. That's not like anything anywhere else. Like everywhere else, you have to have filters and carbon and charcoal and all kinds of shit that your water has to run over before it's actually potable. But here you drink it right out of the tap, and it's incredible. So, quite a bit of nostalgia.
Mark lived on Dollar Pizza in New York.
Mark, you lived exclusively on Dollar Pizza in New York. See, the way I do this is like I address the comments when it's like kind of fits into the flow.
I just didn't want you to miss it.
Oh, I never missed the comments.
I just want to raise your attention to it.
I noticed them all. I just
multitask. I didn't want Mark to think that we were ignoring him.
I don't think Mark would ever feel that way, and I don't think it would stop him from tuning in. Anyway, in any case, so there's a great bit of nostalgia being here in the city, but it's like kind of sad to see the state that it's in. There's like, human feces on the ground, and this comment I have to acknowledge right away. Coach Bill, finally some eye candy on this damn show. Bill, I'm on the show every week.
Appreciate that.
You get all this eye candy every time you tune in. I think he's talking about you, though.
I figured. I did say I appreciated that.
Cheers to Coach Bill. So there's great nostalgia.
Hold on, I gotta get that.
Yeah, unhook your microphone.
Somebody's knocking at the door.
It's probably just some fans of the show found out where we were staying. There's great nostalgia staying here in the city, but seeing the state that it's in with human feces on the ground, it's not a great look for Manhattan. I don't know if it was the pandemic or the politicians. I don't want to get too political on here. I don't want people, trying to get me kicked off of Spotify like Joe Rogan. So I'm going to avoid the political issues here. But Manhattan is just not the place that it used to be. And we're trying our best. We did a little bit of bar hopping while we were here. We did a little bit of restaurant hopping. And there's the door again. When you do a show of this magnitude, thank you so much. It just, you're barraged constantly with fans. So, once they find out. By the way, do you think they were filming a porn down the hall when we got off the elevator?
Oh my God. So we were coming out of the elevator, and the night before we came out of the elevator, and there was a cloud of smoke, weed smoke, and that's okay, whatever, fine. But
can you guys believe they were smoking marijuana in New York City?
Well, you walk through, you could see the smoke in the air. Tonight we came out and we heard them. We heard them doing it for real, doing it.
I don't know. I feel like she was a little over the top. I don't know how
he thinks that they were filming a porn because of the way that she sounded, because it was dramatic.
The best.
We paused. We were actually listening, and the housekeepers were also in the hallway, and I looked at them, and I could tell she was laughing behind her mask, and I said in Spanish, haha, that's funny. And she apologized. She's like, we're sorry. I'm sorry. I'm like, that's not your fault.
I feel like this is the start to a porno. You start talking to the housekeepers in Spanish, and then you're like, "Te gusta?" Bang, bang. And then the housekeepers come in.
Or what if
here.
it's the housekeeper that comes out of that room that was making all that noise?
Then the housekeepers come in here with us. Let me write the story here. I'm the storyteller. The housekeeper comes in here with us, and we're like, we've got Elijah Craig straight rye. And then things escalate.
Are you trying to say that you want to do it with a housekeeper?
No. I'm just saying, this is probably the way. Is that
what you're saying?
This is probably the way the listeners assume it went down.
Well, either way, yes, we're not staying in this hotel again. Bottom line.
Well, Mark, do you know who Young Jamie is on Joe Rogan podcast?
No.
Mark is so Young Jamie is the producer. And Joe will ask him to Google something.
Uh-huh.
Mark is like that for this show. Mark is always filling in the blanks when I don't know something or I don't have some information. Mark will Google it real quick or just provide the information. So he's going to do his due diligence and check all his porn subscriptions and let us know if there were any porns filmed in this hotel. Mark, if you find us,
He'll know if there are porns in this hotel.
Well, I mean, poetic license here.
Okay.
You gotta give him a little wiggle room here. It's a joke.
Okay.
It's a satire. That's what we do here. Anyway, so we're trying to find the positive in New York here. We're gonna go see a Broadway show tonight. Mm-hmm. We're gonna go see.
That's right.
Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
In New York.
In 2 hours it starts.
Enjoying a little kid-free time. We've been doing some.
This is fun. I like not having a kid around for a little bit.
Well, Ariana, if you ever listen, that's only.
I know. I mean, obviously, I love you, but you're having a great time. You don't even miss us.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm having.
I deserve this time.
I wouldn't say I'm having a great time without our child.
This is just on the record, this is the first time since she's been born that we've ever done this. So we don't do this. Some parents go jetting every weekend, leave their kid behind with some nanny. Nope, we're here. But this is the first time we've done this.
They leave their kid with some nanny while they're smoking weed and filming a porn in a hotel room. So yeah, we're trying to find the positives here, but it's been a bit of a letdown. Like, we went out to dinner last night. The food was not so great. We stopped for some drinks and a snack at a restaurant. And let me bring this topic up because it's been a hot topic for the wife here. We ordered a French onion soup at this bar that we went to, which will remain nameless because I don't want to drag them through the mud on this gigantic platform that I have here.
It's not relevant.
I thought it was fine. And why don't you describe the French onion soup?
Well, first of all, I ordered a French onion soup. Okay, so I expected a French onion soup, right? If you order something, you expect it, right? You expect what you order.
That's right.
So, lo and behold, they bring a chicken broth tortilla soup.
There was no
tortillas. Without tortillas, but it was basically a chicken soup with the onions and was there even bread in there?
There was, but you told me to eat it all because you're doing
bread and cheese. The color of the broth was blonde, clear, translucent. Okay, if you know that French onion soup is made from beef broth, and if you know beef broth, you know that it's a dark brown. So why is my French onion soup that's supposed to be made out of beef broth light blonde color? That doesn't make sense to me. So I questioned it, not to anybody, but to Bill. And I'm like, Bill, this is not something's wrong here. This is not French onion soup. And he's like, well, it tastes fine. It's good. And I'm like, well, that's not the point. I don't care. Fine, it tastes good. But the point is, it's not beef broth. And I'm like, that's the point. Like, I wanted French onion soup that's supposed to be made of beef broth, but I got chicken soup. So here's where we're getting down to. French onion soup, beef broth, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Travis Hatfield entered your. I'm sorry. I know you wanted to announce your guest, but I think you're getting extra guests because I'm on your show right now.
Well, I mean, how would people know that you're on the show unless they already watched?
Because I think they see that somehow it's triggered in the algorithms of Facebook.
Did you share it somewhere?
No, I haven't even touched it.
So the show just picked up your face and distributed it somehow.
I think so. Google is smart. Whatever stream platform you're on is being connected to the algorithms that pull my face and pull in the people that follow me and see that I'm online.
I mean, Travis is a regular viewer.
Hamburgers are great, but if I order a steak, I want a steak.
All right, you're
yeah, exactly.
You're jumping ahead.
I was telling him, like, if I order a pizza and you get a flatbread, like, you'd be like, this is not a pizza, it's a flatbread. Why am I getting a flatbread?
That's pretty much the case anytime you order a pizza in Florida. In any case, Travis, thank you for tuning in. Shout out to Travis, mutual friend of Claudia and myself, welcoming Claudia to the show. Mark agrees with Claudia being upset about the French onion soup thing.
Mm-hmm.
To me, like, it didn't taste like a French onion soup, but here's my thing. Like, we went to a restaurant last night that will also name, well, it was called.
Who cares? It's called a restaurant.
It was called a restaurant, which is a horrible name.
I mean, nobody's gonna go. Nobody's
horrible name.
Not like what we
restaurant.
say is gonna matter, but don't go there.
Everything we say matters. The food was like, So I was like, this French onion soup, it doesn't taste like French onion soup, but it's better than anything we had at restaurant.
They probably only named their restaurant the restaurant to like capitalize on keywords.
I imagine it doesn't help keywords though, because like if you search for restaurant in Manhattan, 5 million things are gonna show up.
Wow.
Like
that's how pathetic they are.
Yeah.
They gave us guacamole out of a bag.
Well, we never saw the bag.
Well, we can only assume, but
assume.
I mean, it definitely was not fresh, and that shrimp was not fresh either.
Yeah, the shrimp had a little freezer burn going on. A little freezer burn taste to it. You know what doesn't have a freezer burn?
And then they never wanted to bring our check.
You know what doesn't have a freezer burn taste to it? My darling?
That's one thing, just to say real quick, the service in New York, we have not received nice service anywhere.
That's not true.
We haven't.
We've had the bartender at the last place was nice.
He was nice and attentive, but he was like
a little crazy.
Yeah.
This is New York. A lot of things have gone downhill. The vaccine passport thing, very strange. Like, we couldn't get into a brewery yesterday because
I forgot my ID.
Claudia had her vaccine passport.
But I forgot my ID.
But didn't have an ID. You know,
it was in my bag of the hotel. They wouldn't let me in.
We don't think about IDs anymore because we don't get carded places. But now you have to have a vaccine passport and it has to match your identification, which I guess it makes sense to a certain degree, but it's just a little bit weird for people of our age to be denied access to a bar because of identification. Like, I can't remember the last time I even got carded to go into a bar.
New York is definitely, I mean, we live in Florida, so I don't know where majority of your listeners live, but Florida is a complete 180 from New York. I will tell you that. It's like it's a culture shock almost, like being here.
Yeah.
Florida is like freedom. Like it's almost like there's no pandemic in Florida, honestly. I hate to say, I mean. Yeah.
And I mean, I guess the Omicron variant spiked in both places. Everybody kind of went through it, whether you're vaccinated or we're both vaccinated, by the way, whether you are or not. Omicron.
I am pro-vaccine.
Omicron got you. Travis says he wouldn't ID us because we look old enough to consume. I think he's saying we're old.
Yes.
It's the beard, I think. Growing the beard out.
It's the maturity.
What do you think of the beard now that we're public? You like?
Baby, you ask me this all the time. I mean, I like it. It's fine now.
But I want to see if you have a different answer now that we're in front of the public.
It's fine. I like it now, how the way it is now. Sure.
Okay. Let me know what you guys think of the beard. In any case, Elijah Craig straight rye. Is this doing the trick for you? Did I make
did you? You know what? Remember I was supposed to take a nap?
Yeah. Well, once I start talking about the fights, you're going to go.
Okay.
Nap time. So Claudia has this habit of falling asleep during Broadway shows. So we had to make sure we budgeted enough time for her to take a nap.
Yes. And the show's at 7. We have to be at the show at 7. It's 5:15 now, FYI.
Yeah. So, I mean, is this you checking out?
Okay. So we have to leave. If we're going to skip food, then we have to leave at 6:30.
Yeah, you should take your nap.
I got to leave. I got to say goodbye.
Okay.
I'm just going to do a little 20-minute cat nap, I think.
All right. Well, why don't you give us your final thoughts on this Elijah Craig straight rye here?
I'm going to take one more shot.
Okay. Take a sip. And
hopefully this will knock me out.
What
if it knocks me out?
What are your thoughts on this rye, though? Would you prefer to have this in the bar at home?
I mean, sure. I like it, honey.
You did drink it straight. Like, normally you like a little rocks, a little bit watered down. You took it like a champ.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
I'm proud of you.
Well, I think I'm primed. I mean, I've been doing this it's like a regular thing for me now. I don't know if like it's just easier for me now to drink this type of stuff.
Me too.
You know.
All right. Is there any parting words you want to say? You want to plug your social media or anything? So you want the
unless you want to follow me in learning about doing yoga.
you want these wackos following?
You want to see me doing yoga? You can follow me at Clauderella. Clauderella, like Cinderella, but Clauderella. Clauderella. Nobody's gonna. Who cares?
Clauderella. It's a social media handle. It's not an STD. I assure you, folks.
But I don't really post anything but Ariana stuff and yoga stuff.
Coach Bill says to set an alarm. Don't oversleep.
Yeah,
I'm the alarm.
That's a good idea, babe. So I'll just figure it out.
I'll wake you up when the show is done.
I hope I didn't. I just slapped over the mic. I hope that wasn't really annoying.
Yeah, it probably sounded horrible for anyone listening with headphones.
I apologize.
It's all right. They're used to my voice, so they can handle any kind of pitchiness. Okay. Here, hand it to me behind my back. Here. All right. Thanks for joining the show, sweetheart. Enjoy your nap.
All right.
Did you just showing your backside to the whole internet here? It's not that kind of show. It is not that kind of show. All right, folks. All right. You got to be quiet back there now because we're talking about manly things here like whiskey and MMA. All right. So that was that. Mark says, thanks for dropping by, Claudia. It was great to see you on the show. Mark is so cordial. All right. All right. Claudia says, thanks. All right. Take your nap now, sweetheart, so we can make it through Chicago later. All right. Let's talk some fights, folks. We had UFC Fight Night 200 last night, or UFC Vegas 47, but who's keeping track? I barely am sometimes. I can't deal with the Fight Night this and Vegas that and Apex but this one's over here in Cleveland or Saskatchewan or wherever it's going on. Sean Strickland versus Jack Hermansson in the main event. Middleweight challengers. I think going into this, it was kind of assumed a big victory might get a title shot for either one of these guys, just for a little bit of parity in the division, because Israel Adesanya is on his second lap through this division, which, could very well get held up if Robert Whittaker wins the rematch next week. And I know Mark is already rooting for that, but before we get to UFC 271, let's talk about the card from last night. So a little bit lackluster of a main event, you could say. So Sean Strickland gets the win, split decision win over Jack Hermansson, basically by sticking his jab in his face the whole night. And Jack just didn't have an answer for it. So that was the story of the fight. I think the most exciting part of the fight was people getting angry about the decision because Sal D'Amato scored the fight for Jack Hermansson. Now, if you just look at the faces of these two, and I showed the difference to my wife last night, and I said, who do you think won this fight? Looking at their faces, and Jack's face was battered. Sean Strickland looked like, he just got out of a sauna or something. Like he just was a little bit overheated. But he looked fine. No damage at all. I realized he took some leg kicks and things like that. But for the most part, it was the Sean Strickland's jab show. The most exciting talking point about this is the fact that Sal D'Amato somehow scored this fight for Jack Hermansson, which that's a problem. I mean, it wasn't the most exciting win, but it was pretty one-sided beating. I think anybody with any level of consciousness, not even experience with MMA or combat sports in general, would have scored this fight for Sean Strickland. I don't know of anybody with 2 eyes and an ESPN subscription that would have scored this fight for Jack Hermansson. Like I don't see a scenario where that would be possible. In any case, let's talk about Sean Strickland. So pretty lackluster. Just basically stuck his jab in his face the whole night. And, he got it done. And he came out after the fact and he said, no disrespect to Jack, but I feel like I wasn't in this fight mentally. I was treating it like a low-level sparring session. And, maybe he was a little flat because he spars basically the week of the fight, which generally is considered not good practice. But, who's to say one way or the other? If it helps him mentally to keep sparring the week of the fight, great. Maybe that's his thing. Maybe that works for him. It helps him stay in the right mindset. But we know from even back in the Pride days, like Fedor used to say he would stop sparring 11 days before his fight. So not even fight week, but, most of the week before he would not be sparring. Who's right? I don't know. There is no right or wrong. Like different training, different mindsets, different body types, whatever the case. I'll take a different spin on this. Let's say it was an off night for Sean Strickland and he was flat. He still basically shut out one of the top guys in the division. So what would that say about Sean Strickland if he showed up, at his peak? And he was sharp. That says that he could contend, for the title in this division. However, knowing how this business works and, knowing kind of the mindset of the UFC and the matchmaking and everything like that, based off of this performance, I don't see him getting the winner of Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker. Sorry, folks, I'm dealing with a bit of a internet issue because I'm on hotel Wi-Fi here. So hopefully you're all still with me. Yeah, I don't see it happening, especially with the card next week having a big middleweight fight on it between Jared Cannonier and Derek Brunson. I think if Cannonier has like an impressive win, that could lead to a title shot. I don't know if they'll do the rematch between Brunson and Adesanya, but and I don't know if they would do the rematch between Brunson and Whittaker either, because that was such a one-sided fight as well. So I think, man, that's a tough call. We're gonna have to see basically how next week plays out between Whittaker and Adesanya and between Brunson and Cannonier. Like, it's all pretty much up in the air. Like, if those are both kind of stale fights, like maybe Sean Strickland could be thrown in there for the title shot. I don't know. Let's see. I would love to see, I got to tell you. So the highlight of this whole card for me, hands down, was Chidi and Njokuani. Of course, the brother of Anthony Njokuani, who just recently fought in Eagle FC. You guys might have heard me talk about that last week. Chidi is just a beast, man. He's so fucking fast, and he's got so much power, and he's so explosive. 33 years old. He's got, almost 30 fights in MMA. Finally made his UFC debut. And he had the second fastest knockout, I think, in UFC UFC debut history against Marc-Andre Barriault. So this was on the prelims, Chidi and Njokuani against Marc-Andre Barriault. And it was just such a clean combination. It was a 2-3-2, put Barriault down, couple of hammer fists, fights over. 16 seconds in, Chris Tognoni has to come in and separate it. What a fantastic debut. What a fantastic performance. I hope he got a bonus for that. Somebody please confirm. It was the most impressive performance of the night to me by far. I would love to see a fight between Chidi and Njokuani and Sean Strickland. That's a big jump because Sean Strickland just fought in a main event and Chidi was on the prelims making his UFC debut. But I'm just jumping ahead a little bit. Hell, I would love to see Njokuani against Adesanya. I think that would be fun. For a guy who's 33 years old, the fact that he can move that fast is just mind-blowing to me. And maybe it's just me because I've never been a fast guy. I've never had fast hands. I've always been more of a, I guess, timing beats speed kind of guy. But I'm still so impressed when I see people with speed and explosiveness and they're able to harness it and control it. It's just so awesome to me. Let's see. I'll jump back up the card. Nick Maximov gets a split decision over Punahele Soriano. This fight was okay. I thought Maximov won. I don't think the judging was as bizarre as the main event, but I can't see watching this fight and thinking Soriano won. Like, he got taken down, I think, 12 times by Maximov and beat up while he was on the ground. So I don't know how you score a fight for a guy who gets taken down 12 times. Another really impressive performance from me, and this was one I was telling you guys last week to keep an eye on. Shavkat Rakhmonov, who's just a humongous welterweight. I mean, he's billed at 6'1", but I feel like he's taller than that. Maybe it's just because he fights at 170. I feel like he looks like so much taller than his opponents. But first round KO over, I believe, the previously undefeated Carlston Harris. Let me just double check that. Carlston Harris was, in fact, undefeated. No, he wasn't. 17-5. You're way off, Bill. Lay off of that Elijah Craig straight rye, even though it's so delicious. Yeah, Rakhmonov is a problem, man. He's got solid grappling. He's got explosive striking. He finished the fight with that spinning hook kick, followed it up with punches. He was throwing hammer fists, basically like standing straight up. That's how long his reach is. He was just like reaching from the top of his head and just slamming his fist down into Carlton Harris's face. Let's see. Brendan Allen took this fight on Tuesday, I believe. Moved up a weight class and took on Sam Alvey. I forget who Sam Alvey was supposed to fight, but it wasn't Brendan Allen. Mark Fellows wants to see Rakhmonov versus Chimaev. Yeah, hopefully down the line we do get to see that. I think that's a fantastic fight. They're both super explosive on the feet, both very solid grapplers. So Brendan Allen, Sam Alvey. Brendan Allen basically knocked Sam Alvey out in the second round and then locks in a rear naked choke. Obviously, we know Brendan Allen is a spectacular grappler. Locks up that rear naked choke, and it's lights out for Sam Alvey. I imagine this is the last time we'll see Sam Alvey in the UFC. I hate to be on this bandwagon because I like Sam Alvey. I think he's a great guy. I think he always puts on entertaining fights, but in his last 9 fights, he's only won none of them. And he's gone to a draw once, I think. And I don't recall anyone in UFC history having that kind of a losing streak and being allowed to stick around. I realized he was on the wrong end of some bad decisions at a few points, and he's just such a likable guy. Mark wants to know if Alvey earned a contract extension with that loss. Maybe he did. Like, oh man, Alvey, you really got the shit choked out of you. We're gonna give you another 6 fights. Like, what are we doing here? Bryan Battle and Tresean Gore, 2 Ultimate Fighter season 20 something, 29. I don't know. What season of The Ultimate Fighter are we on? Somebody tell me. They were both on the same season of The Ultimate Fighter. Bryan Battle won this season. If memory serves correct, Tresean Gore was not able to continue. He was undefeated going into this fight at 3-0. I kind of feel like Tresean Gore won this fight, but Bryan Battle got the unanimous decision. At the end of it, Tresean Gore looked, pretty much like Sean Strickland looked at the end of the main event. And Bryan Battle looks like he has permanent facial damage. I guess he scored enough points to win it. But, again, if you looked at these two guys side by side at the end of the fight, and I asked you to tell me who do you think won the fight, 101% of you would probably say Tresean Gore won the fight without seeing the fight. And I'll admit I was in and out on this one. Juliana Rosa squeaking away with the split decision over Steven Peterson. So Rosa, I thought he won the first round. Then Steven Peterson kind of put it on him in the second, and the third round was really close. Rosa coming away with a split decision. I'm not mad at it at all. Juliana Rosa, another Ultimate Fighter alumni on this card, season 22. He was on the same season as the great Billy Quarantillo, friend of the show, as you all know. Let's see. John Castaneda submits Miles Johns with an arm triangle choke in the third round. This was a good fight, and the arm triangle happens to be one of my personal favorite submissions. Put Miles Johns unconscious in his third round. Impressive, to say the least, and very, very good performance by John Castaneda. Hakeem Dawodu, unanimous decision over Mike Trizano. It was all right. I already talked at length about Chidi and Njokuani over Marc-Andre Barriault. I can't express to you enough how impressed I was with Chidi and how much I look forward to his second UFC fight, which I hope is soon. Alexis Davis, unanimous decision over Julija Stoliarenko. Alexis Davis got caught in a really tight armbar in the first round of the fight. Very impressed with her toughness there. Her arm was hyperextended, and she still fought through it and fought through the rest of the fight with probably a very damaged elbow joint or something there, because that armbar looked pretty vicious from Stoliarenko, but Alexis Davis still able to come away with the decision. Jailton Almeida also making his UFC debut against Danilo Marquez. This dude's a beast, man, at light heavyweight. This was the second most impressive performance of the night for me. Almeida dragged Marquez to the ground and was just stuck to him, had his back, mounted him, and was just beating the shit out of him. And Marquez was probably fine, still fully conscious, but Mike Beltran had to step in there because he was just not answering any of the blows from Almeida, and Almeida was just fighting like a beast, man. Philip Rowe, local guy, fights out of Orlando. And he had a great come-from-behind win on these early prelims here against Jason Witt. Jason Witt, who had, I think, like a 10 or 11-inch reach disadvantage. In my opinion, it's still debatable whether or not reach is an advantage or not. I don't personally believe in that, but I'm biased because I'm a guy with a short reach. But Philip Rowe had a long reach advantage. Jason Witt was able to close the distance, take him down repeatedly in the first round. But then Philip Rowe was able to find his range in the second round, looked fantastic, was able to put Jason Witt down, follow up with some big hammer fists. And again, Chris Taglioni, the referee, had to step in and call this one. Very impressive performance by the welterweight Phil Rowe. And then we had Malcolm Gordon beat Dennis Bondar by an arm injury. I did not catch this fight, but apparently it happened in the first round, minute 22 seconds in. This was the only fight I did not catch on this card, so I'll have to go back and check that one out. But solid card, man. I can't stress enough how impressed I was with Chidi and Njokuani, and with Jailton Almeida. Those two, set my Google alerts for the next time they're both fighting. I can't wait. The main event left a little bit to be desired, but luckily for Sean Strickland and for Jack Hermansson, their future is going to be determined by what happens next weekend. Mark says the dude ended up with 3 elbows, so I guess his arm got snapped up pretty good. I have to go back and watch that one. I guess for those of you who are squeamish, don't go back and watch that. All right, next week we got UFC 271, a rematch between Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker, the champ against the former champ. I know Mark's not going to want to hear this. I think a lot of people, and I'm not one of them, I think a lot of people are writing Robert Whittaker off here because of the way the first fight went. It was very one-sided. I feel like it was not the Robert Whittaker we're used to. I think we're going to see a different approach. I think we're going to see a more patient Robert Whittaker. I think we're going to see him take the Jan Blachowicz 4th round approach, when Jan took Israel down in the 4th round of their fight and just kind of held him to the canvas. A lot of people forget, man, how good of a grappler Robert Whittaker is. And I know last I heard, Robert Whittaker was a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He may have progressed since then. Israel Adesanya got his purple belt from Andre Galvao. That's a little suspect to me. I don't think he's been grappling that long. I'm a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It took me over 7 years to get my purple belt. I don't think we've been grappling the same amount of time. I don't know how much time Israel Adesanya spent with Andre Galvao. I'm not trying to discredit his purple belt. I'm just saying that I would classify Robert Whittaker as a higher ranked grappler overall than Israel Adesanya. And obviously Robert Whittaker can strike. He's got some epic knockouts in the UFC. I think we're going to see a much more competitive fight this time. Adesanya is incredible. He's one of these once-in-a-lifetime talents. But Robert Whittaker is a guy that you just can't count out. The dude is indescribably tough. He's so well-rounded. He's got incredible skills everywhere. I think this is a great main event. I think this is an awesome card on paper. On paper, I think it's the best card. I think it's the best card of the year. Now that I'm looking at it. Yeah, I think this is the best card of the year. Co-main event, Derek Lewis and Tai Tuivasa. How do you not love that fight? Either one of these guys could end the fight with one big shot. I don't think we're going to end up with a Derek Lewis and Ngannou scenario here. I think these guys are going to go for broke. And I'm excited for that one. That's a really fun heavyweight co-main event. And then here is the monkey wrench in the gears of the middleweight division. Jared Cannonier against Derek Brunson. If Derek Brunson wins in impressive fashion, he definitely deserves a title shot. However, he has very quick losses to both of the guys in the main event, in Adesanya and Whittaker. If you remember the fight with Robert Whittaker, Brunson ran face first across the octagon, like an angry rooster, and just got his block knocked off. Since then, we've seen a more patient Derek Brunson who uses his wrestling, beats up young kids trying to become the youngest UFC champion. Digs deep, and resorts to that wrestling, like he did against Kevin Holland. Man, he deserves it. I mean, I almost want to say that, like, the winner of Cannonier and Brunson should fight Sean Strickland for the chance to fight for the title. Like, depending what happens, there's so many variables here. Like, Sean Strickland's in the equation. You can insert him into a title fight against the winner easily. But what happens between Cannonier and Brunson is so paramount because they're both top-tier middleweights. There's no debating that. But they both have losses to both of the guys fighting for the title. So, I don't know. I think we're going to have to see something fantastic from one of these guys. Otherwise, just for the sake of parity, they're going to have to put Sean Strickland against the winner of Adesanya and Whitaker, which I would love to see. I would love to see Strickland against Whitaker. I think that's a really fun and interesting fight. I'd love to see Strickland against Adesanya. Even going off of this last performance of Sean Strickland, I still feel like it would be fun. I feel like the build-up would be really fun between Adesanya and Strickland. I feel like those two guys kind of understand how to play the game a little bit, and they would have some fun with it. Kyler Phillips against Marcelo Rojo. Bobby Green against Nasrat Haqparast. As long as Haqparast, makes it to the scale, we'll see that one. Andre Arlovsky still hanging in there against Jared Vanderaa. That'll be a fun. Roxanne Modafferi, apparently her farewell fight against Casey O'Neill. We as fans owe a lot to Roxanne Modafferi. She's been putting on really fun performances for years and years and years, going back to Invicta and even before that. Big fan of Roxanne Modafferi. Of course, her longtime training partner, Serena De Jesus, has been a longtime friend of the show, made many appearances, one of my favorite guests of all time. Alex Perez and Matt Schnell. William Knight and Maxime Grishin. That's one to keep your eyes on. That's a fun light heavyweight matchup. Alexander Hernandez and Renato Moicano. Okay, that's one I wasn't expecting. I guess Alex Hernandez dropped in weight. There's a lot of fights on this card. 15 fights on this card. I'm going to give you guys my sleeper pick. And it's going to be, if it happens, Bobby Green and Nasrat Haqparast. I think that's a really fun fight. And if these two happen to find each other standing across the octagon from one another, I think that's an awesome fight. All right, so that's UFC 271. That's the recap of UFC Vegas 47-ish, whatever it happens to be. I'm on my way, after I wake the wife up from her nap, I'm on my way to go see Chicago tonight. I've never seen Chicago. We did the, you get discounted tickets for buying it day of. We weren't planning to see a Broadway show, but we were like, fuck it. We're here in New York. Let's go see a show. I've seen many Broadway shows. I'm a big fan of Wicked. That's a great one. And it's become even more sentimental for me because my daughter is such a big fan of the Frozen movies. And Idina Menzel is the voice of Elsa in that. And she was the original Elphaba from Wicked. Fantastic Broadway show. If you've never seen it. I was a big Wizard of Oz fan growing up as a kid. It may come as a surprise to a lot of you, but I loved the Wizard of Oz. I would watch it 3 and 4 times a day. I showed it to my daughter a few months ago, and she actually loved the movie as well. But in the days of YouTube and Disney Plus and all these things, it kind of gets lost in the mix. And we're in a big Encanto phase right now. She loves Encanto. Travis says he loves Chicago. I think I'm going to like it too. Claudia has seen it before. I have not. I've seen bits and pieces of the movie. I'm anticipating a good show. I mean, by then, we're both going to be halfway through a bottle of this delicious Elijah Craig straight rye whiskey, which, for anyone who cares, is not a sponsor of the show. I just talk about things that I enjoy. If I really enjoy it, I'll talk about it a lot. So after I wake her up, which, she's obviously knocked out behind me while I've been talking about the fights. I guess I just have a soothing voice that just put her right to sleep. I always say, if there's ever a national shortage of Ambien, they can probably take my wife's blood and make a new version of Ambien out of it, because she can fall asleep, standing up in the rain, no problem. She can just be bang, lights out. Well, I've always been a little bit of an insomniac myself. So we're different in that way, but opposites attract, right? I'm looking forward to going to a show, though. We'll see how it pans out. I think it'll be fun. As long as she wakes up, and we'll grab a slice of pizza on the way, a few dollar slices, get into the show, have some drinks, and I'm going to be posting on social media some of my journeys here through the new Manhattan, the post-COVID Manhattan, the post-de Blasio Manhattan, however you want to refer to it. I'm not going to get into politics here. You guys know that's not my thing. I don't want to influence the way you guys vote or look at the world or anything like that. I'm just here to talk about booze and fighting. And if you enjoy booze and fighting, or both, you want to get some MMA on the Rocks merchandise, you can do so through our friends at Team Reaper. Reaper1.co is the website. You can buy an over-the-top, under-the-influence t-shirt, tank top, or hoodie. And I wish I had one of those hoodies now, because it is fucking freezing here in New York City. And I still don't have one of my own hoodies, but you can own one, and you can save yourself 10% by using the promo code MMARocks10 right here. As always, I will put all the links in the show notes, whether you're watching on YouTube, watching on Facebook, watching on Twitter, listening on Apple Podcasts, listening on Spotify, listening on Google Play. I don't know if maybe we've been canceled from Spotify. Maybe they're kicking us off like Joe Rogan. I don't know. Who knows what tomorrow holds? But I can tell you what you can hold in your hand. Some merchandise from MMA on the Rocks through our friends at Team Reaper. Or you can hold yourself a bottle of Elijah Craig straight rye whiskey. Just go to your local liquor store. It's easy to find. Get yourself a bottle for about $30. It'll have you slurring your words just like me. Are you ready to sponsor me, Elijah Craig? Heaven Hill Distillery? One of my favorite whiskey distilleries, in all seriousness. In any case, Mark says he was rudely interrupted and he's not mad at my picks. I didn't make any picks, Mark. The only thing I picked was this whiskey. Picked it at the liquor store. I didn't say who was going to win. I was just giving different scenarios here. Anyway, before I make anybody else mad, let me head out of here. And I'm going to enjoy the rest of my time in what's left of Manhattan, in the sad state that it's in currently. I really hope they rebound. I really do. I have a lot of great memories in this city, and I would love to make some great memories with my daughter and my wife here. More memories with my wife, because we spent a lot of time here when we were young and childless. But we're going to make the best of it tonight. Follow along on social media at MMA on the Rocks. everywhere on social media except TikTok because I don't know how to do that shit. Until next time, cheers, everybody. Goodbye.